Hello everybody, and welcome into UMass Sports Weekly, your number one source for all things UMass sports. I'm your host, Tommy Clutie, and we have a great show for you today. The baseball team has been in action all last week and were in action earlier today. Alex Francisco comes in to check that out. The softball team has been on a bit of a roll lately, and Tim Dennehy will come in to break that down. Liam Byrne is off, but that doesn't mean that John Anderson took the day off, as he's going to come in to talk some men's lacrosse. Now, I'm sure some of you watch the Masters. Jordan Spieth quadruple bogeyed, I believe, the 12th hole. Now, that is my best score on any 12th hole ever. So just to put that in perspective, Spieth didn't do that bad. So Jordan, if you're watching, hey, all is forgiven. It's all right. But enough about golf. We got some baseball, some softball, and some lacrosse on tap for today, and we are ready to go. Victor Cruz is coming up, and this is UMass Sports Weekly.
This is UMass Sports Weekly.
Hello and welcome back in. The baseball team played a 3-game set against St. Bonaventure this weekend. Alex was there with the coverage. Alex, just give us a breakdown. Before we talk about what happened in that series, I just want to know, what were some of the scores? How did the team do?
All right, so we lost the series to St. Bonaventure 2-1.
Yikes.
Friday they had a doubleheader, which they split. So UMass took the first game 3-2. Brett Evangelista was really clutch hitting for them. He hit a homer in the third to put UMass up 1-0, and then again in the eighth, he hit a double, which would run in Mike Gianellis and ultimately give UMass the lead 3-2. Pitching was also spectacular in this game, actually. Ryan Maloney started. He allowed 2 runs through 7 innings, and he had 5 strikeouts. Kevin Hassett pitched a hitless 8th inning, so he would actually be credited with the win. And then Evan McIntosh recorded his 4th game of the season. As always, he can always come in to save the day. This kid doesn't look like really anything special. He doesn't throw the ball all too hard, but he's really crafty and he really knows how to hit his spots. He's definitely our best reliever. Unfortunately, in the game 2, they fell 5-3. Tim Cassidy started. He struck out 9 over 6 innings, which is actually a career high for him. But Kevin Lacey would take the loss. He allowed 2 runs on 2 hits. Just couldn't make it happen. Saturday, same thing. They lost 7-3. Gianellis would take the loss. He allowed 3 runs on 4 hits and walked 3 of these guys. So, yeah, not an ideal series.
Not an ideal series, Alex. It's funny, though. You see the team start off so well. You've had Evan McIntosh has been a great closer. Ryan Maloney, who besides 1 or 2 starts, has been a real stalwart at the top of that rotation. What do you think is just the issue? Do you think it's inconsistency with regards to pitching, or do you think there's just not enough talent there?
I don't honestly, Tommy, I don't think it's so much the pitching issue as it is a fielding issue. You see these guys in the outfield just not really playing with urgency. Either that or just their arms aren't powerful enough. So I think fielding's a way bigger issue, and that's what I saw today in the game as well against Central Connecticut, which they actually luckily ended up winning in walk-off fashion. It was pretty exciting in extra innings.
So we'll go to that game, Central Connecticut today at UMass's Stadium. Game time 3 o'clock. If anybody was there, you know what happened. But Alex, for everybody who wasn't, like myself.
Yeah, extra innings went into 10 innings. UMass ends up winning 6-5. They originally had the lead. Central Connecticut came ahead, and it was 5-4 through most of the innings, up until the 9th inning, actually, when UMass just rallied and tied up the score.
And who was the pitcher for today's matchup?
Well, we started off with Abbas, and Lacey came into the game, and Ben would end up closing, saving the game. Blanking on his last name, I apologize.
Yeah, because I'm blanking on his last name too. But so, Alex, I want to get into a little bit with regards to this pitching staff. Usually, especially towards the end of a rotation or the end of a bullpen, you see the same guys. With this team, you don't see McIntosh today.
No.
You didn't see Lasco. You didn't see Cassidy.
We didn't see Kevin Hassett as well.
You didn't see Hassett. So do you think Coach Stone just doesn't have a level of confidence in his relievers, or do you think this is just necessary rest for some of these guys?
I think his relievers are great, honestly. We're seeing great stuff out of Kevin Hassett. Always great stuff out of McIntosh. I think it's just these kids needed rest. They're heading up to Boston College, and then they have on Friday a game also against, they open up some more series play against St. Joseph's for more Atlantic 10 play. I think it's just Stone wanted to rest these guys, try to make sure they're good for these conference games, because right now they're 2-4 in the conference, 7-13 overall after today, and I don't know, things need to start looking brighter. I think that I'm not sure how long these hitters will be able to keep bailing these guys out in the outfield, because up until this point, that's really what it's been. Mediocre, sometimes decent pitching, but just really poor fielding. And then the hitters come in. Guys like John Jennings, Mike Hart come in and save the day every time. And I don't know how much longer we'll be able to rely on these bats.
So I want to, just last question, I want to look at that a little bit. You have guys like Matt Baer, who's been hitting, I think, .338. Vinny Schiffo always has a really high average. You talked about John Jennings, leads the team in home runs. A lot of times this offense does end up bailing guys out, but why do you think that is in the outfield? Is this an issue of guys literally can't field balls, take bad angles, or is it just we don't have...
We're just seeing errors, a lot of error. Today there was a really stupid error out in center field. Honestly, I think it's arm power. They're just not getting the balls back to the infield in time, and these kids are just, kids that are playing are safe.
So we have guys stretching singles into doubles, or we have guys stretching second base positions into runs?
All the above.
All the above. Well, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That is a great way to go. Well, thank you very much, Alex. You can catch the baseball team. They have a couple of home games coming up. Always nice to hear from you, Alex. Thank you very much. Allie Furlow, not in. She's at Fenway. Didn't get the invite, but she's at Fenway. All right, don't touch that dial, though, because when we come back, Tim didn't go to Fenway. Tim's right there, and he's waiting to talk about some women's softball, so stay tuned. Welcome back in. Unlike the baseball team, the women's softball team has been on a little bit of a streak. They won 3 games in a row, but unfortunately have cooled off, losing their past 2 to St. Joe's this weekend. I'm here with Tim Dennehy. Tim was there with the coverage. So, Tim, 3-game series against St. Joe's. Let them have it. What happened?
I think it was just fatigue that set in. I mean, it was a lot of softball to be played this weekend. They played 2 games on Saturday. Real nail biter in the first one. It went into extra innings, and the Minutewomen won 2-1. Yeah, I see you actually already been chomping on those nails. Like you must have went to the softball game.
I was there.
Exactly. So let's take a look at Meg Collar in this game, because she had a really, really, really busy weekend. She pitched 19 innings total this weekend, 289 pitches. She pitched all 8 innings in the first game. Second game, she went 4 innings. In the third game, she went a complete game of 7. I mean, that is a lot of rotating that arm, getting that in there. I mean, she really needs to ice her shoulder this weekend, because that's a lot for anybody. And the bats, they just could not get going behind it. We got blown away in the second 2 games. The first game, like I said, it was a tight game. That first game on Saturday was a tight game. We won 2-1 and took extra innings. Took 8 innings to do it. We just couldn't get, men and women could not get the bats going in the second game or on Sunday. Just really poor performance at bat.
Poor performance at bat. I mean, that's shown in the record. They're 4-4 in the conference. They usually do a little bit better. So, Tim, what do the Minutewomen need to do to end up getting to the top of that division? They were there last week, and they've kind of sank. So, what do they got to do? What kinks do we got to work out?
Yeah, I mean, their fate is in their hands right now. They're 4-4, and that is right mid-table, exactly mid-table, 5th out of 10. And they just need to hit. They need to get the bats going, and they need more pitchers than Meg Collar, and they need to get more people in the rotation. So
19 innings a week usually does not work.
No, absolutely not. I mean, they tried it a lot in the old days, back in the 19.
Cy Young pitched a lot.
Exactly, but it's a lot more efficient now with more pitchers. So I don't know. They need to step that up. And as far as hitting, they just need to get more power. They need to get more ribbies. I mean, right now, Carbone, she is leading the team by a landslide with RBIs. I mean, she's doubling pretty much the next closest. She has 21 right now. I believe the next closest is 11. So maybe just under double, but still, I mean, it's more people need to put the bat on the ball when runners are in scoring position. 100%.
And that always brings up the issue. You could have either one player coming in very clutch or a series of players stranding runners on base, which is never a good thing, especially going up against URI, a team that has plagued UMass in every sport this year, seemingly. Coming in, we have a doubleheader, softball. Tim, what are we going to do to beat URI?
Against URI, I mean, we got to get the bats. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we have to get the bats going. But URI is coming in wounded right now. They are going off a two-game losing streak, 2-game thrashing by St. Louis. They lost their first game against St. Louis. They lost 11-0, and they lost on Sunday 9-1.
Wow.
So I mean, that's their morale. That morale in the locker room is down. So
20-1 is a very. It's a score.
It sounds like a 30 for 30.
It sounds like a Jordan Spieth scorecard.
Exactly. Triple, double, quadruple bogeys. What are you doing, Jordan? I mean, so many days, and then you just look. Anyway. But let's take a look at some of URI's big names, their big impact players, because they got a couple. They definitely have a couple. First of all, their freshman ace, Becca Rogers. She is 8-4 right now in the season with 53 strikeouts. That is a lot for a freshman. She is definitely a name that you want to look on in this A10. We got Paige Julich, who's leading the team with 13 RBIs and 493 slugging. She leads the team in that category. She's the power. She has the power in this on this URI team. And lastly,
so all we got to do is unplug her.
Definitely, absolutely. Get that spark plug out of there.
That's right.
And we got Allie Summers, who leads batting average with 311, and she is the highest on-base percentage by a landslide with 454. She almost gets on base almost half the time. She's leading the team with 16 walks. I mean, that is a skill that I believe that it's not looked highly upon as much as it should be, because having a good eye like that and being able to take the walks and get on base for your team, that's crucial. And that is something that Allie Summers has really done well this season. So those are the 3 players that the Minutemen really need to look out for. And hopefully, I mean, for her sake, I kind of, we most likely will see Meg Colleran, but maybe for her shoulder's sake and maybe one game, not both games. If she just pitched one game, that'd be good. But
maybe
I mean,
9 instead of 19?
Absolutely, yeah, something like that. A little more reasonable for her. So if we can get more people in the rotation, get the bats going, and shut down those 3 big names, I think we have a shot against this doubleheader tomorrow against URI.
All right, Tim, thank you very much. Remember, look forward, doubleheader against URI. Make sure to follow UMass Sports Weekly on Twitter and watch the updates for that game. Thank you very much. Don't touch that dial, though, because John Anderson is coming in. It's just me and him going mano a mano, talking about some men's lacrosse. Stay tuned. Just 2 weeks ago, the men's lacrosse team was ranked number 18 in the country. After a loss to Delaware, and as John will tell you, a loss to number 7, Towson, they have fallen out of the top 25 and are now 0-2 in CAA play. John is right here next to me. John, UMass lost their second conference game, not of the year, in a row. Terrible loss to Delaware. And
also of the year, though.
Also of the year. And you lose to a good team like Townsend. Were there any standout players in this game? Anything we should really be positive about?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the face-off is the big thing. But if we take a look at my well-prepared graphic for the standout players as well, we can see that Noah Rack had a great game, amazing game. Noah Rack, 15 of 19 at the face-off dot. Tom Myers kind of screwed them over a little bit. He was 1 for 4, but Coach Canella always rolls with the who. What have you done lately? He's one of those type of guys. So Myers got the axe pretty quick. But Noah Rack, also 7 ground balls, most of those coming in the 4th quarter when UMass was trying him out to come back. Tyler Bogart, 2 goals and assists for 3 points. Also had 4 shots on the day. Brendan Hegarty had the hat trick. Shane Rinkus really has stepped up, as I'll mention soon. Tyler Weeks injured, has been out for a little bit. Rinkus did have a goal, as well as 4 ground balls, picking up right where Isaac Paparo left off, the 2 LSMs that have been filling in for the absent Tyler Weeks, who, again, injured. And Sean Scanone, 8 saves, not as good as he could have been, seeing as he had 0 in the 4th quarter when it mattered most. But he did make some big saves. He's a big guy in net. And especially, like I said, Dan Dolan, another injury to the Minutemen.
So I want to move on to that topic now, injuries. Dan Dolan obviously being out after spending the first half of the season, or first quarter of the season battling, getting the starting job. How devastating is it to this team to have him and others, as you'll probably tell me, be lost?
Well, I mean, it's really just the 2 I mentioned. It's Tyler Weeks and it's Dan Dolan. Dolan obviously has done great, but Scanone has arguably done a bit better than him, especially in the Delaware game. There's a reason UMass was in that game. Tyler Weeks, the other big one, he was the only, last year, Austin Spencer, he really monopolized the LSM position, whereas this year it's 3 LSMs getting time. But last year, it was him and then kind of Tyler Weeks. And this year, Tyler Weeks has taken over that position. Shane Rinkus, Isaac Paparo have also gotten time. But those two are doing well, obviously. But, you need Tyler Weeks back. But the big thing, which I actually didn't find out, I actually found out through a Collegian article, even though I asked around UMass Athletics, never really got a straight answer. Peter Lindley has actually left the team for personal reasons. He was not on the roster for the Delaware game. I thought that was interesting. I tried to find out if he was injured or not, couldn't dig up anything on it, but he actually left the team for personal reasons. He played that left-handed attack spot, second leading scorer on the team, and two games removed from his absence, he is still the second leading scorer on the team, although Tyler Bogart's catching up. But especially in the Delaware game, they had Buddy Carr moved over to that left-handed attack spot, and it's not working. It's not working right now, especially in the Towson game.
It worked about as well as Jordan Speed's short game.
I don't know golf, but I know that he did not do well. Buddy Carr had 5 shots in this game, and not one of them went in the net. He ended the day with 1 assist. He's still the leading scorer on the team, but UMass currently does not have a feeder. UMass did go up 2-0 in this game as well, worth noting. And before Towson went on a 4-goal run that spanned the end of the first quarter. 6-6 at halftime, and UMass, although bringing it within a goal twice in the fourth quarter, never quite able to come back in the game. Although, obviously, Towson, ranked number 7 in the country, these CAA games are much closer, and that number 7 ranking may come from the fact that Towson, and we'll see, I'll talk about Fairfield in a second, they play a lot, they dumb down the competition out of conference, whereas we have UMass playing all the ranked teams. But, Towson's number 7, but the competition...
Towson is like a pig amongst guinea pigs.
Basically, but that's what the whole CAA is, to be honest.
It happens.
Yeah.
That's how scheduling works. You beat up on the little guys, you make your way into the tournament, and then you just, boom, right into a first-round elimination.
Exactly.
But, John, so you mentioned Fairfield. We have Fairfield coming up this week. UMass, I would call this a must-win, especially if you want to salvage any semblance of competing for this conference title. How important is this game, and what do they need to do to win?
Well, it's obviously very important. UMass 0-2 in the CAA right now. Last year they went 2-3. They ended the season, so they barely snuck in. A tiebreaker got them that 4 seed. They had the tiebreaker over Drexel, I want to say it was. Drexel or Delaware, it doesn't really matter at that point when you're the 4 seed. But
Delawex.
But they made it. They did make it, and they made it 2-3. That doesn't mean you want to be 2-3. But if we take a look to just scout Fairfield a little bit, take a look to Fairfield's leading. Fairfield's leading scorers. Well, what we have now, and I'll actually touch upon the current graphic that we have, is the CAA standings right now. Fairfield in second, Towson in first. So one of those teams most likely will take the CAA crown. Fairfield's competition this year, 3 ranked opponents, Stony Brook, Yale, and Villanova, lost all of those games. And they also lost games to programs like Richmond, Bucknell, and Rutgers, which aren't exactly powerhouses. Yeah.
Powerhouse.
And then they won games.
The Duke of men's lacrosse.
Big wins against UMass Lowell, Colgate, and Quinnipiac. Not that that really matters. And as I mentioned, Towson, same deal. They barely beat Loyola and Ohio State, so they're a little bit more legit than Fairfield. Big loss to Johns Hopkins from them, but Fairfield also defeating Hofstra and Drexel CAA opponents, so that's why Fairfield sits at 2-0 right now. But I really want to look to Fairfield's leading scorers on the season. There's three main guys on the Fairfield lacrosse team, one of which being a freshman. That would be Mr. Colin Burke. He's been named the CAA Rookie of the Week like 5 weeks in a row now. He has, and for those of you who don't understand my slash mark system, it goes goals, assists, points, shots. He has 31 goals in the year, 43 total points, and 112 shots, and that is as a freshman attackman. And that is none of those statistics are even top 10 in the nation. For a little perspective, I'll get to that in a sec, but I just want to point out in the Hofstra game, he had 11 shots total, 6 points. Combine him with TJ Neubauer, the third leading scorer, that is 21 shots. UMass had 25 the entire game against Towson. So this Fairfield offense, it's mainly these 3 guys, but if you look down to Charlie Schneider's stats, 24 assists, they have a feeder. They have somebody who's not getting a lot of goals. He only has 8 goals in the season. They have a feeder, and he is going to feed people like Colin Burke and TJ Neubauer all day long. And they're the ones getting the goals. And it is just these 3 guys. They have narrow wins against Drexel and Fairfield, 8-7 and 9-8 respectively. That's where the 2-0 in the CAA comes from. But like I said, the competition that Fairfield has been up against all year has not been to the par of the competition that UMass has been facing. Now their high-powered offense likely is inflated by that fact. So you have someone like Colin Burke who comes in as a freshman. He's an attackman getting 112 shots off so far this season. The other two players, though, are middies. Usually that's not the case. Usually it's the attackman. That was the case in the Towson game. Spencer Parks, Joe Sider, Ryan Drenner, those are the three attackmen for Towson. Early in the season, Dylan Malloy, who is the number 3 scorer in the country for Brown, UMass shut Dylan Malloy down. I mean, per se, he had 2 goals, as opposed to last year when he had 7 goals against UMass. So, respectively speaking, that's the case. And UMass has done a great job shutting down, and their offense comes from one guy and one guy only, and that's Colin Burke. A little bit of TJ Neubauer. It's almost the chicken or the egg. Who do you want to stop? Do you want to put your long poles on the feeder, or do you want to put your long poles on the attackman? Well, for UMass, it's been the attackman so far this year. And the competition level, like I said, UMass has faced a lot tougher teams, and obviously CAA, the games are going to be tight, but this is a must-win game for UMass, and I think given what I just outlined, I think UMass can do it.
Well, there you have it. Big game this week coming up against Fairfield. Obviously, stay tuned. Keep up with UMass Sports Weekly, social media-wise. We'll keep you updated. John's calling the game for WMUA. That's great.
Correct.
Unfortunately, that's going to do it for us this week. We had a little bit of a shorter show, a little bit understaffed, but that's fine because your show is still great. And for more news regarding UMass Sports, you can follow us on Twitter. We have a great Facebook run by Liam and Tim. We got a Snapchat. I think Phil does that too. Phil does something.
Someone does it.
Phil does something. We got a Periscope, Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all of that. Keep up with UMass Sports and have a great week, UMass. This is Tommy Coluti. Peace out.